5 viral microplastic detox protocols, millions of views between them. I put every study behind every claim on one evidence scale. Here's what actually survived, and it's not what you'd expect. Let's set the rule before we start grading because it's the same rule from every video in this series. A real citation is not the same as an honest claim. Every single protocol I'm about to walk through is built on a real, published, peer-reviewed study. Not one of them is made up. What varies wildly is whether that study actually tested what the claim says it tested. Claim 1. Sulforaphane, usually as a broccoli sprout extract or supplement, popularized by biohackers as a way to activate what's called the NRF2 pathway and detox the body. The study behind this is genuinely strong. In 2014, researchers led by Thomas Kensler ran a randomized, placebo-controlled trial with 291 participants in Qidong, China, a region with extremely high air pollution. Half drank a broccoli sprout beverage daily for 12 weeks, half got a placebo. The result? The broccoli sprout group excreted 61% more benzene and 23% more acrolein in their urine, both airborne pollutants starting from day 1. That's real. That's a proper randomized human trial with a measurable outcome. Here's the catch. Benzene and acrolein are small, volatile chemical compounds. Your liver has enzyme systems, the ones sulforaphane activates, specifically built to grab molecules like these and tag them for excretion. A microplastic particle is not a volatile, organic compound. It's a solid fragment of polymer, sometimes visible under a microscope, that your liver's chemical tagging system has no evolved mechanism to process. Nothing in the Kensler study or any follow-up study measured microplastic particles at all. The claim quietly swapped detoxifies specific airborne chemicals for detoxifies plastic. Same trick we saw with the okra study, just a different vegetable. And it's worth being precise about what detox even means biologically, because that one word does a lot of hidden work here. When your liver detoxifies something, it's running a two-step chemical assembly line. Phase 1 enzymes crack a molecule open, and Phase 2 enzymes, the ones sulforaphane ramps up through NRF2, bolt a water-soluble handle onto it, usually a molecule called glutathione, so your kidneys can flush it out. Every step of that machinery operates at the scale of individual molecules, reacting with specific chemical bonds. A microplastic particle has no such bond to offer. It isn't a molecule the liver can grab, tag, and rinse away. It's a physical speck. Turning that pathway up makes you better at clearing certain reactive chemicals. It does not hand your body a tool it simply doesn't have for solids. Claim 2. Sauna and sweating, argued most publicly by biohacker Brian Johnson, who's claimed a daily sauna habit lowered his measured microplastic levels. Here, too, there's a real study underneath, a 2012 paper called the BUS study for blood, urine, and sweat, which found BPA, a plastic-related chemical, in the sweat of 16 out of 20 participants, sometimes at higher levels than in their blood or urine. Real, peer-reviewed human data. But read it carefully. That's BPA. A small molecule that leaches out of plastics, not the plastic particles themselves. Multiple toxicologists who've reviewed this exact claim make the same point independently. Sweat glands are built to move water, salts, and small dissolved molecules. There's no known biological pathway for a solid microplastic fragment embedded in tissue to migrate into sweat. One expert put it bluntly, the leap from saunas have real cardiovascular benefits to saunas eliminate microplastics is, in her words, a stretch. Real mechanism, wrong physical target, again. Claim 3. And this one's my favorite because it's the same mistake as our own earlier video, just with a different material. Activated charcoal, sold in supplement blends specifically marketed for microplastic detox. And the evidence people cite for it is genuinely impressive. A 2023 study using charcoal made from jute sticks removed over 94% of PVC microplastics from contaminated water within 2 hours. Other trials show similar numbers using activated carbon in wastewater treatment. You should recognize this pattern by now. That's water in a container. With a physical filtration step afterward, it's functionally the same setup as the okra study we broke down in an earlier video. Powder goes into contaminated water, particles bind to it, you filter them out. Nobody has published a human trial showing activated charcoal binds microplastic particles inside the gut and carries them out in stool. It's plausible, structurally, Charcoal has an enormous surface area and does bind many things non-selectively. In fact, that non-selective binding is exactly why emergency rooms keep activated charcoal on hand. Given within about an hour of swallowing certain drugs or poisons, it soaks them up in the gut before the body can absorb them. But look closely at the conditions even there. The toxin is a dissolved chemical, still sitting in the gut, caught on the way in. Charcoal doesn't reach back into your bloodstream or your tissues and retrieve anything that's already been absorbed. Asking it to round up solid plastic particles scattered throughout the body is a completely different request than the one the emergency room evidence or the water jar studies actually supports. Plausible is not demonstrated, and the marketing has skipped that distinction entirely. Claim 4. A specific strain of gut bacteria, Leuconostoc, found in fermented foods like kimchi, which a 2026 study showed could bind microplastic particles. I want to be fair to this one because it's the most recent and the most narrowly honestly reported in its original paper. The overreach happens downstream in how it gets repeated. The actual study was done in mice using one isolated bacterial strain, not eating kimchi. It's a legitimate, interesting research direction. It is not a demonstrated human effect, and nobody has shown that eating fermented vegetables delivers enough of the right strain in the right concentration to replicate what happened in a lab dish. Claim 5. Fiber and pectin, specifically modified citrus pectin, sold as a gut-binding supplement. The mechanism proposed is that pectin binds to a protein called galectin-3 and to bile acids, theoretically trapping toxins in the gut for excretion. This one's the weakest of the 5, evidence-wise. Unlike the other 4, there isn't even a strong adjacent human study to point to. The galectin-3 mechanism is real biochemistry studied in other contexts, but nobody has run the equivalent of the Kensler trial or the BUS study using pectin and any measurable plastic-related marker. It's a hypothesis wearing the outfit of a protocol. So here's the actual scoreboard. Did any of the 5 pass? Not one of them has direct human evidence that it removes microplastic particles from the body, but they're not equally wrong. Claims 1 and 2 are built on genuinely strong, randomized, peer-reviewed human trials. The trials just measured something else. Claim 3 has strong evidence, but only for the water jar version of the process, not the gut. Claim 4 is early-stage animal research, honestly reported at the source and dishonestly simplified downstream. Claim 5 is the thinnest of all, a mechanism without a matching trial. If I had to rank them by how much real science is underneath, it's 1 and 2 ahead of 3, 3 ahead of 4, 4 ahead of 5. If I had to rank them by how honestly they're being marketed to you, the order almost completely reverses because the ones with the strongest underlying science are also the ones getting stretched the furthest past what they showed. What does this mean practically? If your actual goal is measurable, demonstrated exposure reduction, the evidence points where it's pointed in every video in this series, at the intake side, not the removal side, reducing plastic and hot food contact, filtering drinking water, and yes, the boiling method from an earlier video all have direct measured human or experimental data behind them. None of the 5 detox protocols we just graded do yet. Put the 2 lists side by side, and the asymmetry is almost funny. The interventions with the least hype, swapping a plastic container for glass before it goes in the microwave, filtering what you drink, are the ones with actual measured data behind them, and they cost you almost nothing. The 5 protocols with the biggest followings and the boldest promises are the ones with the widest gap between what the study showed and what the label claims. That doesn't mean future research won't get there. Sulforaphane and Sauna both have real, working detox pathways for other compounds. It's not impossible that better designed studies eventually find a genuine plastic-specific effect. But not impossible and already proven, said in the same breath, is exactly the sleight of hand this whole series keeps catching. Until a study actually measures microplastic particles, not a stand-in chemical, not a water jar, not a mouse, the honest answer is, we don't know yet. And anyone selling you certainty right now is selling you more than the evidence supports. If you found this kind of claim-by-claim breakdown useful, this is basically the whole job of this channel, reading the study behind the headline so you don't have to guess. Subscribe if you want more of these. I'll see you in the next one.